What's good, y'all? You already know what it is, baby. This is T Paris, aka the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit, most original, most creative, most in tune with the times, and I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is P's Perspective, the recap. But let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. Our first order of business, though, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and y'all just keep the comments coming, man. Keep the comments coming. I want to say thank you, man. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody that's participating. We had an amazing week. We had a real good topic, real deep. We got a lot of comments, real in-depth comments too. So I'm just keep it 100. As we do these recaps, we're not gonna be able to read through all the comments because some people, they got so much insight and so much information that it'll take us all day to get through everybody's comments. So what we do is we grab one or two of the best responses in your answer. We put that together, man. We package that up and send it to the people, man. We send it right off. This week our topic of conversation was the whole village concept. I thought that was dope. I didn't even let y'all know that concept came through the email, anonymous. Yeah, man. Somebody want to talk to us, but they don't really want us to know who they are, and I appreciate that because sometimes some of the topics we're gonna discuss, they're going to be a little touchy, a little controversial, and sometimes people just don't want to be attached to that, man. They just want to get the dialogue going. So I appreciate you, man. Toast to the town. Let me just give a little synopsis. We spoke about 4 different factors in the whole village phase. We spoke about the biological phase. Just a little detailed biological phase is like knowledge itself, the early beginning teaching, social emotional learning. Right after the biological stage, we got into the neighborhood stage. The neighborhood is identifying some of these things that we learning how to apply them. Getting in touch with some of that extended family, finding out what makes us neighbors, how we create the neighborhood. The next stage that we went into was called the community phase. The community phase, let us know about how the collective, is doing things. And so it's based upon the individual. And then when we all come together, we become the collective. That's how we make the community. And then the 4th stage that we spoke about was the societal stage. And societal stage being, society on a whole, just how we interact when we get out there into the real world, some of the challenges we have to deal with and all that. And so a lot of the responses that we got, so deep, so detailed, in depth. I want to say thank you. I think we got some of the best supporters out there, man. I know we got to work on getting our numbers up in terms of the views and stuff like that, but ain't no rush. I want y'all to know it's always gonna be quality over quantity. You know what I'm saying? We ain't focused on the numbers. We focusing on changing lives. But let's get into this dialogue, man. Let's get into this dialogue. Our first question this week was, what happens when there's no love in the biological phase? All right, our first answer came from Alex Mendez, people over at Microphone Bully Media. Want to tell y'all thank you for always supporting, man. Really appreciate you. Been over 20 years, It's my brother over there, man. Shout out to Microphone Bully. Alex Mendez said, I just watched, full support. And he been supporting for a long time, man. So I know whenever I do something, if nobody else don't support, I know Microphone Bully in the building, man. Toast to the town, baby. Our next comment comes from out there, the Motown City. Brittany Cross, she said, no love in the biological stage may create an environment for a child who may look at the neighborhood for that child to seek love from other places. They may cause that child to reject love from anyone because he or she doesn't understand it. I agree with that. I want to tell you, thank you for that comment. If I could just add on a little bit, what you're trying to say is sometimes not being able to identify with that love in the early stages, you go out there looking for, but because you might not understand it, you're going to go through a lot of different trials and tribulations. But thank you for that response. Our next response comes from Sean Dixon. He said, biological meaning in the womb. He said, it immediately leads to trust issues from what I see. Men are holding their end of the parenting. Why? Because look at me. I look at you. I look at guys I don't even know on YouTube. I look at 5. I look at men that have not been able to see their children for whatever reason and what they doing now with their seeds. Who most likely falters? we'll get into the rest of that later. He answered all 3 questions all in one. I just really wanted to focus on that first question, and his answer was it creates immediately trust issues. It creates trust issues immediately. Our next comment came from Russell Rowe. He said, I believe the lack of love in the biological phase spreads to other components like a virus. It sucks the life resources and good practices and rots them, moving to the next phase. So a man or a woman who grows without love and support will cause damage to others before him or herself. He said these people enter relationships or friendships, get drained or hurt, and aiming to supply the love that they lack. That's a powerful response. I appreciate that. My brother Russell went to school with me, always chiming in and always supporting, and I agree with you. That beginning stage, the biological stage, is very prevalent in our development, you know, and love is very important, man. I'm going to touch a little bit on this at the end of the dialogue, though. Let me get to the people first. Our next comment comes from Shanice Taylor, OG from Sugar Hill. She said, these questions have so many subcategories. The lack of love for self is beginning of the plague of generations. Generational curse has been deep-rooted with the illusion of sovereignty. Extremely difficult to build strong foundations with sand. That was a powerful comment. I went on to ask Shanice, who teaches the self-love? This might be one of those topics that we're going to have a 2-part to, because I think it was so diverse in the responses, but it was so much more dialogue that could have been had, and I think that we didn't, because I think that the topic is kind of controversial. I think sometimes people don't want to say the wrong thing, but I just want to, reassure you, it's no right or wrong answers here. Peace Perspective is about insight, man. We sharing the good, the bad, and the indifferent. So just keep them comments coming, man. We're not judging nobody. Thank you for that comment, OG. The next comment comes from Elijah Davis. He says, so many obstacles are going on where the man is in the defensive, and which blocks his role and makes his role less prevalent today. Technology brought in personal thoughts and behaviors into the equation. Old rap related. Sports was more of a thing from the heart. We gave a man an opportunity to actually be involved in stepping up, just making connections now and then. Much different circumstances and a consistent basis of making sure it doesn't work. Again, just gonna focus on that first part of the question. We said so many different obstacles that we're going through as men on the defensive, and it blocks the roles and makes the roles less prevalent today. The other part was for question 2 and 3. We're gonna get back to some of those. Let's just try to take the questions one at a time. The next comment comes from David Hopper. He said, without love, there's a lack of respect. Without respect, there's not much else. Once them 2 elements are removed, resentment, anger, blaming, and a lot of other feelings come into play, which all equals to dysfunction. Powerful response, David. We appreciate you. Want to shout out to Unstoppable Media, and thank you for being consistent in your support, man. Toast to the town. Our next comment comes from Twan Fortune. He said, Terry, I have a saying, people raised out of love see things different than people raised out of survival. Not survival in the sense of eating out the garbage or knowing where the next meal is coming from, though those circumstances are not excluded. But those trust issues and selfish traits not being loved from the very people who are supposed to teach you, your first teachers, your heroes, your role models. That's a powerful response, man. And like I said, in the biological stage, our first teachers are our mother and our father. So if you grown in a household with no love, no inspiration, no nurturing, no support, it's gonna be challenging when you get out there into the environment. You know what I'm saying? The neighborhood phase, the community phase, the societal phase, all that is gonna be a challenge, man. Let's get into question number 2. Question number 2: are men holding their end of the parenting? Why or why not? Now, before we get into this answer here, I want to touch on something. This whole dialogue was about the village concept. So when I spoke about men and their parenting role as it pertains to the village concept, not just men being fathers or being parents. So I kind of feel like a lot of people didn't really delve into this question right here. They focused on the surface. So I got a little something for that. Our first response came from Brian Brown. He said, I feel men are holding their weight in a much more positive way, but we still have to hold down the community. Better the young men and women need us even more. Much respect to the kings. Toast to the town, man. Appreciate that response too, Brian. Our next comment comes from Tamala Williams. He said, I think our men have stepped up and continue to do their part but are crippled by the systematic oppression that is endured daily. We are most likely to be deprived of our children. As a result, it's an impact of dysfunction that's been placed on both the men and women. I think that's a powerful response. Sometimes when our men lack in some areas, then the rest of the family got to pick up. And most times that's the mother, you know what I'm saying? So the mother and the father unbalanced, it does create some type of dysfunction. Our next comment comes from Deprived. He said, when it comes to the man in urban communities, it seems the majority choose to promote all the things that tears down the village, using a broken system as an excuse for nefarious dealings. Wow, that was a powerful response. And I agree with you, man. I really appreciate that response, because I think that it touches on another part of the dialogue that, like I said, it could be a two-part, you know what I'm saying, conversation. But when you talk about men, you know, leading to the things that are tearing the community down, wow, man. I wish that I could talk to you right now so I could just get some examples of what you mean. I got an idea of what you're talking about, but I would like your ideas or your examples of what you're talking about. But thank you for that comment, man. I really appreciate it. Our next comment coming from Sean Dixon. As I mentioned earlier, he said, men are holding down the end of parenting. Why? Because I look at me. I look at you. I look at guys that I don't even know on YouTube. I look at Five. I look at men who have not been around their children for whatever reason and what they're doing to be with their seeds. I appreciate your response, because you coming from a positive standpoint and you speaking to the men that are present in their children's lives. But again, when I speak about being a parent to the village, it's a little deeper than that. And I'm going to touch on it at the end. Let me just get to the rest of the comments. Our next comment comes from Russell Rowe. He said, I believe more men are trying to hold up their end of the bargain because we want to have bonds with our parents and kids. There's still expectations that are, and this is very unfortunate in these day and times. He said, I see the importance of being a father to my kids. They need the presence of their father being active and involved early. My voice carries a different weight with their, in their mother's voice. And I agree, you know, fathers got a whole different approach to parenting. So that's important. But again, like I said, I'm speaking to parenting as it pertains to the village, the collective, not just being an individual parent. The next comment comes from Butter Too Fire. She said, positive vibes, I like. Appreciate you, Butter. Watch, I want to say like 5 or 6 videos a day and commenting on all of them, man. If that's not support, I don't know what is, man. Toast to the town. We appreciate that. Our next comment comes from Super Ms. B. She said, one day a round table discussion with a few guests would be dope, because this is some good stuff. Keep going with the positivity and the insight. You have a brilliant mind. Thanks for sharing. Yo, I really appreciate that. I think we all got brilliant minds, man. It just takes some tapping into them. And once you get inside, yo, the plethora of information is unlimited, man. We just got to keep going. Toast to the town. I appreciate you. Let's get to our third question. Our third question is, who's most deprived when the village concept falters? Twan Fortune is our first common response. He says the most deprived is the village, the growth of that village. A lot of times the people in the village spend so much time trying to get over the lack of love and the growing pains that they have, that they miss steps that hurt their ability to give the children and the next generation in the village guidance and a head start that they wish that they had. That was a powerful comment, man. He's just talking about the cycle and how it continues. If the village is deprived of, you know what I'm saying, the love, the nurturing, the guidance, the teachings, then everybody in the village fails, because the cycle just continues, man. Powerful response, champion. I appreciate that. Toast to the town. The Real, he said, everyone is deprived because everyone plays a part in the village. Again, the village is comprised of the collective. It's not an individual, man. Powerful response. Appreciate it. Toast to the town. Mel Joke, she said, it's a dominoes effect. The children suffer, which contributes to those around them suffering. Some people don't want to be a part of the village. Wow. I'm stunned, you know. I had to reach out to my mentor about that comment right there. Some people don't want to be a part of the village. Now, that's troublesome right there, man. When you got people who look like you, who talk like you, who walk like you, who react to situations like you do, but then they don't want to identify with the village concept, man. That's like a smack in the face. That's a deep topic right there. I'm not going to, go off tangent, but I appreciate that response. Our next comment comes from Bebe Carter. She said, I think the children suffer mainly I feel like the village has changed. People aren't as quick to correct their child as they would have when we were coming up. Nowadays, people are very sensitive about their kids. Sometimes I think the village is scared of these kids to some degree. I think like anything and everything else, the village needs to regroup and figure out new ways to help support our children in a way that will help them to be the best that they can. I think we need to first identify our village because the village has changed. There are times that I worry about the ones who are supposed to take over in the years to come. Having knowledge only really means something when it's utilized and is used to lift and guide the people forward. I think that collectively we have so many issues, but we have also made strides. Broken kids turn into broken adults. When people work from survival and desperation, things tend to get jaded. I believe that we are capable of I'm capable of helping one another and pulling each other up. Those of us that are not able to get a standing because of those past traumas and tragedies need the assistance of those that are more capable. I love to see the village wrap its arms around the children and families alike. That was a powerful comment, man. You had so much to say, and I really appreciate it. And I want you to, go out there and follow Bebe Carter if you're on social media. Every time we dialogue, I feel like we have an amazing exchange because she's always going deeper than just, the surface information. Thank you for that comment, man. She had a longer comment, and I kind of like chopped it down because it was so much. It was packed with so many different details and insight, and I felt like it could ultimately lead to another topic of discussion. Our next comment comes from Dominique Moore. She said the children will suffer the most, and in turn the elders will too, because we're not handing down the morals and values needed, as well as the self-sufficiency tools to become non-reliant on the government to govern ourselves. She said, you hit that one in the head. Thank you for this. And it's refreshing. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. And again, it's not just me, it's all of us, man. Y'all help me to bring these dialogues to the table. Remember, people are sending their thoughts and their insights to the email, and I'm just taking them and developing them into questions and topics to discuss. So as you thank me, I'm thanking y'all, man. This is all of us together. Each one teach one, blade sharpen blade. Our last comment comes from Robert English. He said this question is rhetorical, and there's so much that I have to say, so I'll close with this. The ones who are greatly affected by this are the youth, because their stories are no longer shared by the elders. That's true, man. I feel like a lot of times the youth and the elders have a real big disconnect. And that's where we, kind of missing out on this whole village concept when we talk about teachers and students of the game. The elders are supposed to be going out there and giving they all, passing down tutelage, passing down information, passing down love, man, passing down support. And the youth have to be receptive to this information. So more important than sharing the information, it's finding the common ground where we could communicate and comprehend. We have to be able to understand each other, man. We got to get the anger, the frustration, the ideology that if I was your age, I would have did it this way. Like, you had your chance, man, and it's over for that. It's time to get some new blood in here, some fresh energy in here, man, and give them the same love and nurturing that you wanted when you was a child. You understand where I'm coming from? Now, if I could just go back to number 2, where I said, are men holding down their inner parenting? I got to challenge the men to step up, man. You got to step up. Because when we spoke about, the topic, we spoke about gang banging and the sports and being an athlete. And I'm not saying that being an athlete or participating in gang banging is like the end of the world, because it's not. A lot of people turn to the gangs because they family not there and they looking for love. However, you 40, you 50 years old and you still gang banging, to me, that's detrimental to the well-being of the youth. Because you can't possibly sit there and tell him something positive when he watching you out there doing negative. You know what I'm saying? So I'm challenging the men to be more accountable. Another thing that I want to just touch on is when we talk about the village, we talking about the collective. So the whole idea about I'm a great father, that go out the window. That go out the window. Because if your brother is not a great father, then you ain't a great father. Because you should want for your brother what you want for yourself. So I'm challenging all the men, every man that tap into this, man. I need you to go out there and grab 2, 3, 4, 5 youth and start putting that work in, man. We have to make a change. We have to be consistent on a day-to-day basis as far as creating change, man. The days of just going with the flow is over. Now, I know we done spoke a lot, and so I'm not going to talk y'all to death, man, but I just don't agree that the men have been stepping up on the parenting side. I ain't trying to dog y'all, but I'm saying we got to step up, man. I see too much of the gang banging going on. I still see people talking about the hustling and all that, and you got to do what you got to do, man, to take care of your family and provide for yours. But at the end of the day, if you 30, 40, 45 years old still doing the things you was doing at 15, you haven't grown, man. And this is T. Paris saying that, man. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You know, we appreciate the dialogue. Don't forget to show that that like button some love. Show the subscribe button some love. Hit them comments up. And thank everybody for tuning in, man. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. This is T. Paris, a.k.a. the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit, most original, most creative, most in tune with the times. I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is Peace Perspective. Toast to the town. Peace.